4 strategies to avoid burnout for STEM project managers and team leads. I'm Stephanie Slocum, founder of Engineers Rising LLC. I'm an engineer, author, speaker, trainer, and coach who is on a mission to normalize women as leaders in STEM. Burnout is part of that problem, and if you are an organization who wants to recruit and retain the best people, women and diverse professionals included, it can't be ignored. 76% of employees experience burnout on the job at least sometimes, and senior leaders are not exempt. This is particularly acute for project managers and team leads in their first management roles, and for middle managers who are balancing the needs of people they are managing below them, the business needs of the C-suite above them, and managing client expectations as well. As one example, 57% of women and 36% of male technology and IT professionals reported feeling burnt out in 2021. Today, I'm going to share 4 primary drivers of burnout and strategies to overcome each of those 4 drivers. But before I do, we have to get some context on why there's a burnout epidemic. Our systems, specifically in the United States, are designed to encourage burnout. We see this in the glorification of the hustle culture and in the way busyness is treated. Think about it. When someone asks you how you are doing, is your instant response, "Oh, I'm so busy"? I know, I've done it too. Busy makes us feel important. Busy feeds our egos. If you are a STEM professional, you pride yourself on solving problems. And if you're busy, surely that implies you are in high demand as a problem solver. Busy is a status symbol, and the results of that underlying mindset are perfectly designed to lead to burnout. Because it's a system, the most effective way to solve burnout is at a systems level. Burnout is an organizational cultural challenge with individual impact, and it often hits project managers, team leads, especially new ones, as well as middle managers the hardest. Today, I'm going to share 4 drivers of burnout for those in project management, team lead, and middle management roles and what to do instead. The 4 burnout drivers are, first, unclear expectations. Second, working outside your contribution zone. Third, managing tasks instead of energy. And fourth, going it alone. Let's take these one by one, starting with unclear expectations. One of the most common challenges we see when someone is promoted from an individual contributor into a team lead or project management role is that they aren't sure what success looks like in their current role. What got them promoted, the specific day-to-day tasks that allowed them to get to the level they're at now, are usually not the specific tasks that will help them get to the next level. And if they try to pile on the new management tasks onto all the tasks they were doing previously, that is a recipe for burnout. And I know this because I lived it. When you are unclear on the expectations for success in your role, what happens is you end up doing too much work because you don't know what of the work you are doing matters. So instead of being unclear, what you want to do is know what success looks like in your role and how it is measured. This is true for you as a project manager, team lead, or middle manager, and it's also true for anyone you may be managing. The second burnout driver is doing work outside of your contribution zone. What's your contribution zone, you may ask? Well, your contribution zone is represented by this graphic as the overlap between your technical expertise, your unique gifts, talents, and perspectives, and the business needs of your organization. I want to pause for a moment on the business needs. What are they? Well, there is a reason you have a job, and typically that reason is because something about your role saves or makes your company money. Something about your role saves or makes time, usually for someone else. So for example, you getting all your work done means your manager isn't doing all of your work. Or there is something about the quality of your work. And for most technical professionals, it's a combination of these things. We are expected to do quality work, but then there's also something that is related to money or time. And so a common problem we see, specifically for people that are approaching or in burnout, is that they are spending a lot of time on tasks that are outside of their contribution zone. Remember, the contribution zone is at the intersection of these three areas, but it also shouldn't be confused with your comfort zone. Your contribution zone does include areas where you may have an interest, but you haven't had a chance to develop those talents yet. So what you should do instead is know where your contribution zone is and use that to maximize your value in your role and your fulfillment at work. Now, what happens to professionals who are working in one of the three zones, so technical expertise, gifts, talents, and perspectives, business needs, but they aren't actually working in their contribution zone? What we see happens here is, for example, they're only focused on technical expertise, so the technical requirements for their role. How they may feel is that their career looks good from the outside, but they're bored, unmotivated, and may feel unappreciated. For people who are working in their gifts, talents, and perspectives but aren't addressing the other two areas, they find that their work has meaning, but they're struggling to get paid what they are worth. And for people that are only focused on business outcomes, we often find that they feel like they're making a good living, but they are not happy. Working in your contribution zone solves that problem. But the common mistake we see is an activities misalignment. When that happens, you feel stressed, you're working more hours than you need to, it drains your energy, and it leads to burnout. The third burnout driver is managing tasks instead of energy. How often have you felt like this? Like there are always more tasks to do than you have time in the day? When I first became a project manager, what I did was I tried to complete 2 jobs at once. I had this massive task list left over from when I was an individual contributor, and then I added management tasks to that. And I neglected to simply do the math, not realizing I couldn't just get more productive and do it all. I also didn't yet understand that my ability to complete a task was not the same as my responsibility to complete it myself. What I did realize is that every time I had a deadline, I instinctually reorganized my schedule to meet it. I somehow found ways to get out of conference calls and meetings that didn't require my attendance. I didn't check my email as often. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and at times I physically moved away from my desk and into a conference room to stop interruptions. What I realized when I did these things is that when you complete your most important tasks uninterrupted at the time of day you have the most energy, they take a lot less time and energize you. You do not have the same energy and the capacity to be equally productive at all hours of the day and time. Some people are morning people, others are night people, while still others are in between. Yet the world is typically set up for the in-between people and assumes that you have constant energy every time of day and can be equally productive no matter when you're working. If you are a woman, this also applies to your hormone cycles. There are times of the month when you have no energy and times of the month where you are unstoppable and have superhuman energy. Your energy levels are highly individualized. So instead of doing what most professionals do that can lead to burnout, which is ignoring your circadian rhythms and energy levels when planning activities, what you want to do instead is schedule tasks to the best that you can, and that includes meetings, around your energy levels so you can get more done in less time. Now, one of the big mistakes we see even when doing this is allowing interruptions during these high energy times of day, which, as I've already shared, is individualized depending on who you are. Research shows that the average worker takes 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back to a previous task when interrupted. In email alone, the average professional checks their emails 15 times per day or once every 37 minutes. If you're a project manager or middle manager or team lead with an open door policy, you're also likely to get interrupted by people you are managing. That means it's easy to spend all day responding to emails and putting out fires, which in effect is allowing other people's agendas to dictate your day, and little time in your contribution zone. If you've been feeling like you're getting to the end of the day and you've gotten nothing done, this is often the culprit. What can you do instead? To prevent burnout, try focus hours. When you complete your most important tasks uninterrupted at the time of day when you have the most energy, they take less time and they energize you. So for example, I am a morning person. I typically block off the first 2 to 3 hours of the day, and sometimes I'm more successful than others, as focus hours when I am focused on just getting my most important task for the day. When I do that, after that, I will go into email or meetings or all of those types of things. But when I do that, I set the rest of the day up for success because I'm already feeling good about the work that I have gotten done, and that allows me to be a better manager. If you have been responding constantly to interruptions or people emailing you and asking you questions, what can you do if you've already set that precedent? So one thing you can do is have a conversation with the people you're managing as well as your boss and say, I want to try uninterrupted time first thing in the morning or whenever your time is, because I'm recognizing that I could be more productive, get more things done for the company, be a more effective manager of you, or be a better employee for you, depending on if you're talking to your boss or the people I'm managing, by setting these focus hours. And so during these hours, and you need to communicate what hours they are, I'm just going to be working on my tasks uninterrupted. And as soon as those hours are done, if you sent me an email or you want to stop by my office and ask a question, feel free to do it then. But during these hours of the day, I am working in heads down mode just on those tasks. Propose that, try it, and see how it goes. You're likely to find that if you feel like you are constantly working extra hours and you feel like those hours were attributing to burnout, you will immediately feel better just after a couple days of implementing focus hours during your highest energy times of the day. The fourth driver of burnout is going it alone. Now, we all know we need support in our careers. The problem is that most professionals think to themselves, how can I learn everything I need to know about this particular technical area or anything else I need to do so that I am the smartest person in the room, or so that I will be right, or so when I am put on the spot in that meeting, I never have to say, I don't know. We think to ourselves, we need to know all these things so that we don't get embarrassed at any point in our career. The problem is, it is impossible to know all of those things. And what we find is that when we talk to leaders, they think about this differently. They think, who can help or has the expertise to do this? So the pitfall that leads to burnout is adopting the mindset that working harder and learning how to do everything yourself is your path to success. That is not your path to success. That is a path to burnout. So instead, what you can do is ask for help, cultivate your network, preferably before you need to ask your network for very involved help, and delegate and outsource tasks that need to be done but are outside your contribution zone. Today, I've covered 4 burnout drivers that you shouldn't do, and we've talked about 4 strategies to overcome these. And so instead of unclear expectations, know your success outcomes and how they are measured. Instead of doing work outside your contribution zone, work in your contribution zone, and feel free to go back earlier in this video if you're not sure where that is. Instead of going it alone, ask for help, cultivate your network, and delegate tasks that are outside of your contribution zone. Really challenge yourself on the delegation part. I find technical professionals think to themselves, well, I could do it myself, or it will be faster to do it myself. But just because you can do it doesn't mean it's your responsibility to do it. What can you check off your list today that you could delegate or even cross off entirely that you don't have to do? Being able to do that and prioritize all your tasks will help you minimize the times you experience burnout in your career. Teaching the people you are managing to do this will help them as well. And then finally, instead of managing tasks, manage your energy. Do your highest priority tasks uninterrupted at times of day when you have the most energy. That wraps it up for 4 strategies to avoid burnout for managers, STEM project managers, and project leads. If you or your team is struggling with burnout, I invite you to book a consultative call with me to discuss how we might be able to solve that problem through coaching or training. The link to book that call is in the description accompanying this video.